Hello guys and welcome back to the United District YouTube channel. In this video we're going to be taking a look at two of the deals which United are doing, one outgoing, one incoming at the moment, and seeing the different positives and negatives of each deal. So first of all, and focusing on what could be and what probably will be United's first signing of the summer, Mason Mount. There were developments on Thursday where United and Chelsea had finally come to an agreement on a fee for the player. Personal terms have been sorted for a little while now as per different reports, but a fee has finally been agreed, and that is £55 million plus an extra £5 million in add-ons. And of course, some people think this is a good price, some think it's bad. Of course, those extra £5 million in add-ons have been said to be difficult add-ons, which are triggered when Manchester United wins silverware, which of course means that if it does become a £60 million package, then you'd assume that it was a good deal. The midfielder's set to have his United medical next week after he returns from his holiday, and he's supposedly on £250,000 per week at Manchester United on this new contract, and that can rise to £300,000 per week with certain bonuses. It's a 5-year deal with the option for a further year, and there are definitely some positives and negatives with this deal, which looks like it is going to happen in a matter of days. So first of all, on the positive side, and I do think he is an upgrade on Christian Eriksen in that number 8 role. I believe that that's where he's going to play at Old Trafford. It doesn't make sense for him to play further forward really with the competition there, and Christian Eriksen has got some deficiencies in his game. I think we all know it. I think the most clear difference between Mount and Eriksen that we will see is the out of possession attributes that Mount has. I think he's a brilliant presser. He's good out of possession as a whole in a defensive setup. Although he does usually play a bit further forward for England and Chelsea, we have seen him in those deeper roles. And while still be a complete upgrade defensively, he's definitely got good attributes on the ball. He's a really creative player, probably quite underrated on the ball. He's had a difficult year, as have basically the entire Chelsea squad, which has impacted a lot of people's view on this deal. But I think a lot of people forget that he was back-to-back player of the year for Chelsea in the 2 seasons prior. He got their Champions League final winning assist a couple of years ago against Manchester City, so he's definitely got attributes which can be used further up the field, but I feel like it's mainly just a more well-rounded football player in the middle of the park rather than Eriksen, who's of course an ageing profile and has got clear deficiencies when United don't have the ball. I think another positive from the deal is his versatility. As I mentioned, we have seen him in further forward positions, so we can see that again at United. I do think he's primarily going to be playing as that number 8 next to Casemiro behind Bruno Fernandes, but there's possibilities for him to come into that Bruno Fernandes role, provide the Portuguese midfielder some rest, which I don't think he'll be able to play another 50 to 60 game campaign next year, or I don't think he should. So Mount can come in as cover for that position. We've seen him work on the wings for England in particular, so I think that he has got a good versatile profile, which is always useful, and I think we've seen Ten Hag almost target different players who can play in different positions. We've seen him use Luke Shaw as a centre-back, we've seen him try and play Eriksen up front, although that did not work at the start of the season, but he's done it for a few different players where he likes players who can play in different positions, and Mason Mount can definitely do that. But moving on to the negative side, and I do think there are a few. Like I said, the fee is definitely a controversial one. A lot of people believe that United could have got a better player for that price or a little bit more. I mean, Caicedo looks like he might be going to Chelsea, and he'd probably be about 20 million more, maybe 30 million more. But there's an argument to say that the difference in price is worth it for the ability and the age and the profile that you're getting with Caicedo. And of course, there's other options throughout Europe, and United probably could have got a cheaper midfielder, but Mount's who they came out with, and it's a strange one because I would say that there is another perceived negative with this deal, and it's the fact that United still haven't got a ball controlling midfielder. Mason Mount is not that player. He's not a first phase specialist. I don't think he's going to improve Manchester United's build-up massively. And of course, Casemiro's there as his partner, and Casemiro has got his attributes, some brilliant attributes. But again, a first phase specialist is not one of those. He's not going to control the tempo from deep for Manchester United. He's not going to break a press consistently for Manchester United. So it's a strange one, especially because Frenkie de Jong was Manchester United's main target when Ten Hag first came in. I think that chase almost made people think that that was the exact profile that Ten Hag was going for. But maybe he has shown us with this Mount deal and with the other targets that Manchester United have had other than de Jong, that he's a bit flexible in his approach to build up and what kind of midfielder he's looking for in that position next to Casemiro. And moving on to the second topic of interest, and it is David De Gea's contract, and it looks like it's going to be expiring in the next 24 hours. And it's a weird one because this situation has been going on for a number of months, and the way that David De Gea seems to be exiting the club doesn't seem like it should happen. So the reports have basically said that David De Gea was offered a contract on the table on reduced terms. He accepted that contract and Manchester United basically pulled it away and decreased his wages more on a new contract and offered that to him. And that has not been accepted or rejected from David De Gea as things stand. So this is a weird one because Manchester United sources have denied this information to multiple different reporters, but it does seem like something that the club would do. And it isn't really a good look no matter how you feel about the goalkeeper situation. And I think there's just one positive, and it's that Manchester United will get a better goalkeeper at the end of this saga. It's a long drawn out process, but at the end of it, David De Gea looks like he's going to be leaving, and it looks like Manchester United are going to be bringing in a goalkeeper. Andre Onana could be that man, as there's several reports which place him at the top of United's list if De Gea leaves, and that looks likely. And Onana or another top goalkeeper will improve United in many aspects, especially in build-up. I mean, Onana in particular, I think if anyone watched the Champions League final, we will all know what he offers in build-up. He's got a brilliant passing range, he's calm under pressure, and he's just a really big upgrade on what David De Gea offers in those kind of situations, as I think everyone knows that that's De Gea's biggest weakness, and it's something that Ten Hag values, and multiple reports have said that Ten Hag is the one pushing this move forward for David De Gea to leave the club. And the reason that it's still going to this point is that the club are unsure about their budget at the moment. Of course, it's a limited budget this summer, and that's why things are quite difficult in the transfer market. But I don't think it should have been allowed to go this far. So moving on to the negatives, and I do think that no matter whether you think David De Gea is a club legend or whether he's been holding United back in recent years, I do think it's a bit of a disrespectful end to what has been a very long stay at the club. It's been 12 years since he was signed from Atletico Madrid, and he's given United very good years. And he's also given United some poor performances, especially in some big games, which is why you do get mixed opinions when you ask United fans about his tenure at the club. But no matter what, I do think there deserves to be a bit more respect, and it shouldn't really end like this in a dragging saga where people are getting random updates each day about the goalkeeper and his situation. I think it should have been dealt with months ago. And if something at the end of the season impacted this decision and made it prolong, I don't think it should have. I don't think his performances in the last months of the season should have influenced the decision of whether he should stay or go. You should have known much earlier on in the season, probably even last season, when Ten Hag was probably not able to get a goalkeeper because of the budget and because he spent elsewhere. They would have known that Ten Hag would have either wanted De Gea and wanted his attributes, or wanted someone who offered something a bit different. And then as a whole as well, I just think the whole saga is something that Manchester United need to stray away from. This is what we're getting used to. We're getting used to dragged out situations which should really be avoided, and it's something that the club have done for way too long, and I think it definitely needs to change. But then I do think the main negative, and this does hinge on the point of that report and whether it's true or not, and I guess we won't really know, but if it is true, it doesn't look good for future negotiations at Manchester United. I would say that if I was a player and I knew about this saga and I knew that Manchester United had pulled a contract away from a fellow player, then I would think twice in negotiations. And I'm not sure how big of a difference this would actually make in the grand scheme of things. I mean, Marcus Rashford has recently signed a contract, Diogo Dalot has, and I'm sure we'll be seeing more contracts signed in the next year. So we'll see if it actually does have an impact on anything, potentially. But I do think it just isn't a good look. It's not a good look for potentially players coming in or current players who are looking to extend their deals. It's something that should really be avoided, and it just doesn't seem like it's the way that a proper club with a well-run structure would work. But overall, I do think that both of these deals are mostly good for Manchester United. David De Gea has had his time at the club, and I do think it's time for someone to come in, take his place, and come into the new modern goalkeeping era, because United have been far behind that in recent years. And then at the same time, I do think that there's players that Manchester United could have got instead of Mason Mount, and probably better players, really. But it's going to be an interesting signing, I think. I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but signing a player from a rival club, especially a player like Mount, I would argue that he's essentially their Marcus Rashford, and it's a really interesting deal, and I hope he does well. It's interesting to see how he does fit in and how successful he is, and whether Ten Hag can get the best out of him like he has done for several other Manchester United players from last season. But I'd say it's interesting nonetheless. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stick the notifications bell on so you get any updates when we upload our next video. If you're looking to keep up to date on all the transfer news regarding Manchester United, feel free to follow our Twitter account, which will be in the description below. Thank you for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one.